All right, so from the sidelines of the Morningstar India Conference happening in Mumbai right now, I am joined by Matt Wacher. He's the APAC CIO of Morningstar and is chatting with me right now. Matt, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I was observing from your presentation earlier in the day that now your view of the globe, especially American equities, is that after the 8-9 years of massive outperformance, you're starting to get wary of valuations over there. Talk to us before we come to Indian and emerging markets. What's your thought process on US equities?
So we think from a cash flow perspective that they're starting to roll over a little bit, and you see some of that coming through in the tech stocks. There's a trade war that's affecting some of those as well. And while we've been cautious on the US for quite a while, maybe even since 2015, we're still now starting to be quite underweight. The valuations that we see coming out of the US market are very low over the next rolling 10 years.
So, last couple of months, it was about trade war, which was making investor community nervous. Now there's an increased geopolitical risk also on the table, thanks to what's happening in Saudi. How do you analyze the situation unfolding last 24 hours?
So we won't be really looking at the last 24 hours. We'll be looking how that impacts the next 10 years.
Sure.
So it will be maybe some short-term volatility, but if we've done our work correctly and looking at how cash flows will be affected to the underlying companies, that especially in this case, how changes in the oil price will potentially affect underlying cash flows, whether that impairs them or lifts them. That's what we'll look at, and then how that plays into valuations on a forward-looking basis.
Matt, talk to us about the scene scenario for emerging markets. How do you see emerging market basket perform over the medium to long term? How are you analyzing the valuations?
So at the moment, there's emerging markets quite diverse. So obviously there's India,
Asian
Korea,
emerging markets.
Exactly. So in terms of Asian emerging markets, I think that areas like Korea, there's great opportunity there. I think it's probably been oversold. They've had lots of impact from trade war. And maybe that sentiment around that has driven prices much lower. As I mentioned in the presentation, we've done some work on Korea in particular and other markets, but in terms of emerging markets, Korea, because it has been sold off quite significantly.
Matt, also talk to me about how are you analyzing the Indian markets right now?
So in terms of Indian market, again, it's fundamental analysis that we do as part of the Morningstar Investment Management. And what we see is that, after a significant sell-off over the last, there was a super strong run-up, and then over the last 18 months, significant sell-off. And so valuations still are reasonably expensive relative to fair values, but relative to other regions, we see that Indian equities are starting to look reasonable.
Broadly, our viewers right now, and a lot of people who are attending the conference are very big followers of the small cap and the mid cap universe here in India, which has gone through a terrible massacre in the last 15 months or so after a big 3-4 year rally. How are you analyzing that space in terms of valuation? Does it merit a closer look now?
Indeed. It's sold off over 20% or so thereabouts over the last 15 months, and as it's sold off, it's become much better valuation opportunity. And in our portfolios, we're starting to add just incrementally, as I mentioned in the portfolio, not taking a large swing just yet, but starting to add incrementally to small and mid caps at this point in time.
All right, Matt, I'll let you enjoy the conference. Thanks very much for your time. Have a good conference this time.
Thank you.
Guys, that is back to you.